I, 37-year-old female, do not permit alcohol in my house, and I haven't for 15 years. There is a lot of alcoholism in my family, and in my late teens and early 20s, I was a problem drinker. Fortunately, I realized before things became too bad, and I have not drunk a single alcoholic drink since. I don't object to others around me drinking. I just won't myself and don't want it in my house. All of my family and friends are aware of this and the reasons why. A group of my friends and I enjoy playing board and card games. We have decided to have a games night once a month, taking turns to host in our homes. The first two were fantastic, and we really enjoyed ourselves. Some people were drinking alcohol, and others weren't. My turn is coming up, and as I make the preparations, I reminded people that I don't allow alcohol in my house. However, if they wanted to bring non-alcoholic beer or wine, then that's okay. And I could make up a few different mocktails. I thought that would be a reasonable compromise, and that people would be fine with not drinking for a 3-hour event. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Two of the group were extremely unhappy with that. They said that while they were aware of my house rule, they just thought I meant that I don't have alcohol in my house and that I wouldn't object to others bringing some. I don't know where they got that idea, because all events in my house they have come to were alcohol-free. Although, I've only really hosted brunches and lunches where people tend not to drink anyway. They also said that not permitting them to bring alcohol was inappropriate and showed I was a bad host and a bad friend. We did end up in an admittedly petty argument where they said that I was a hypocrite for not letting them drink because I was practically an alcoholic at one point. And if I still can't be around alcohol after all these years, then I needed help. I responded and said that if they can't go 3 hours without drinking, then it was them that needed help. We tried not to get the others involved in the argument because we didn't want them to feel like they needed to take sides. But the argument ended up going from an in-person one to an argument on our friend group chat. This has, of course, led to people taking sides, even those friends who are in the group chat but don't attend the games nights. I'm thinking of withdrawing from the games nights because of all the fighting. I still don't want alcohol in my house, but other people have been saying that I'm in the wrong for not complying with our country's social norm of drinking alcohol at events and parties. Others have said that there is nothing wrong with me having boundaries, and that people shouldn't automatically expect to be allowed to drink alcohol at every event. I don't really know what to think about it, because they are right that where we live has a huge drinking culture, and it is more normal than not to drink at evening events. Am I the idiot for not allowing people to drink alcohol in my house? Edit. It's been mentioned a few times that people don't understand why I won't allow alcohol in my house when I am fine being around people drinking elsewhere, so I thought I should address that. A lot of my worst memories around drinking happened at home. I'm not even sure I can properly describe the pit of self-loathing and despair I felt when things were at their worst. I was also at home when I realized I had problems, and I felt so disgusted with myself, and then so trapped that I left and stayed with my mother for a while, because I couldn't face going home. Some family friends cleared my house of alcohol for me before I went home. It took a long time to feel comfortable in my home again, and when I did, it became my alcohol-free sanctuary in a world where drinking is so common. I have this bizarre feeling that my sobriety is somehow linked to my home being alcohol-free, and I am afraid that by allowing alcohol in, I will slip back into the hole I was in before. I also feel I can be around people who are drinking because I know I get to go back to my safe place. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. You have a right to set the norms for your home, regardless of societal norms. I expect people to take their shoes off when they enter my house, regardless of what they do in others' homes. I have been asked to pray before a meal, regardless of my beliefs, so I will respect it with a quiet moment while the others pray. When you enter someone's home, you should respect their expectations. If you can't do that, you should stay away. If your friends come to your home, they should respect your choices. I wouldn't leave the game group, but that is your call. If people want to drink, they should offer to host in your place. Comment 2. Not the idiot. It's your house, and your rules apply to anyone visiting. I am also sober. I lost an uncle to alcoholism 3 years ago, and realized shortly after that, while my drinking wasn't that bad, it wasn't something I should continue doing. While I don't take issue with going places, attending events with alcohol, I don't allow it in my house. If people can't be respectful of that, they don't need to come over. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been 3 months since my last post, and wow, a lot has happened. I never imagined that my simple rule about no alcohol in my house would lead to such drama, but here we are. So, after the big blow-up with my friends over the games night, things got even more heated. Remember how I mentioned that 2 of the group were really unhappy with my no alcohol rule? Well, one of them, let's call her Sarah, decided to take things to the next level. She's always been the type to push boundaries, and this time was no different. Sarah and I go way back. We met in college, and she was there during my rough drinking days. She saw me at my worst, and was one of the people who helped me realize I needed to change. That's why her reaction to my rule was such a shock. She knew better than anyone why I needed to keep my home alcohol-free. The night of the games party at my place arrived, and I had gone all out with the mocktails and snacks. I wanted to prove that we could have a great time without alcohol. Everyone seemed on board, except for Sarah and her partner, who we'll call Mike. They showed up late, and Sarah was carrying a suspiciously clinking bag. I pulled her aside and reminded her of the rule. She rolled her eyes and said it was just a bottle of wine for her and Mike, and that they'd be discreet. I stood my ground and told her it wasn't about discretion, it was about respect for my boundaries. She got mad, and we had a pretty intense argument right there in my kitchen. Mike, who's usually pretty quiet, jumped in and accused me of trying to control everyone's fun. He said that I was being unreasonable, and that just because I had a problem didn't mean everyone else did. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These were my friends, people who knew my history, and yet here they were, disrespecting my one rule. The argument got so loud that the rest of the group came to see what was happening. It was embarrassing, and I felt like I was back in those dark days when my life revolved around drama and drinking. In the end, Sarah and Mike left in a huff, taking their bottle with them. The rest of the night was awkward, to say the least. Some friends were supportive, while others seemed to think I had overreacted. It was a mess, and I was starting to regret ever hosting the games night. But then, something unexpected happened. A week after the disastrous party, one of the quieter members of the group, let's call him Tom, reached out to me. He said he'd been thinking a lot about what happened, and that he admired my commitment to my sobriety. He confessed that he'd been struggling with his own drinking, and that seeing me stand up for myself had inspired him to seek help. Tom's confession was a turning point. It reminded me why I had set the rule in the first place, and that it wasn't just about me. It was about creating a safe space for anyone who might need it. We started talking more, and he's been doing really well with his sobriety journey. As for the rest of the group, things have been tense. Sarah and Mike have been hosting their own game nights, with plenty of alcohol, and there's been a clear divide in the group. Some have stuck with me, while others have drifted away. Just when I thought things couldn't get any more complicated, another news dropped. Mike reached out to me, apologizing for his behavior. He said that he and Sarah had been going through a rough patch, and that he'd been drinking more than usual to cope. He admitted that he'd been projecting his frustrations onto me, and that he was sorry. I was floored. Mike had always seemed so together, and I had no idea he was struggling. We had a long talk, and I offered him the same support I'd given Tom. It was a reminder that you never really know what's going on with someone behind closed doors. Now, here's where the misunderstanding comes in. Last week, I got a message from Sarah. She said she wanted to apologize and talk things out. I agreed, thinking it was time to bury the hatchet. We met up at a local cafe, and she started by saying she was sorry for bringing alcohol to my house. But then, she said something that made my jaw drop. She told me that she thought my no alcohol rule was because I was pregnant and didn't want to be tempted. I was stunned. I have no idea where she got that idea, but it was completely wrong. I explained to her, again, that my rule was about my past with alcohol and my need to keep my home a safe space. Sarah was embarrassed, and we both laughed at the absurdity of the situation. It was a weird moment, but it broke the ice, and we were able to talk more openly about everything that had happened. Mill found out I invited my mom over after giving birth, and she was pissed, so I invited her over for a brief visit. But she brought gluten-filled food despite knowing I have celiac disease. I snapped at her. My best friend's husband brought a gluten-free dessert, and I cried. Mill was angry and started complaining. My husband took the baby from her, and my Phil told her to drop it. My husband dropped off most of the gluten-filled food to friends. Now, MAL is trying to rally people against me. My husband resolves the conflict with his parents. ML apologizes and brings gluten-free treats. The rest of the in-laws come around. Mill now visits once a week and is respectful. I'm adjusting to motherhood and feeling better. I, 27 female, had my first baby 6 days ago. My birth went well, but I am still recovering, in quite a bit of pain, and have been very sensitive emotionally since giving birth. My husband, 27, male, and I told our families that we'd likely have no visitors for the first 1 to 2 weeks, just to set expectations. But privately, the two of us decided that we would play it by ear and see how we felt. Our second day home with our baby was really rough on me, and all I wanted was my mom to comfort and help me. So husband and I decided to call my mom and have her come over. She was such a major help, both emotionally and with the baby, so we had her come by every other day since. She went above and beyond to help us. Also, my bestie and her husband live down the street and have been dropping off meals, treats, and walking our dog for us. But I don't consider that visiting as much as favors and errands. Mother-in-law found out about my mom's visits and was very upset. So, we decided to have her over for a brief visit, day 6, postpartum. She said they'd bring food and arrived around dinner time. I have celiac disease, so I cannot eat gluten. Mother-in-law brought homemade lasagna, pasta salad, muffins, and 2 types of cookies, all full gluten, and explained to me that she was sorry, but she had limited notice and only had time to make my husband's favorites. I immediately started crying, and my husband thanked his mom, but took me to the other room and told me he'd take care of it and ordered us delivery on the spot. I composed myself, introduced ML file to the baby, and then mother-in-law made another comment about how she wished she could have brought food for me, but it was just so time-consuming and burdensome to make things gluten-free. I snapped and told her she was rude and told her I was angry. Toward the end of the visit, my BFF's husband knocked on the door to come walk our dog, and to my surprise, brought us a homemade gluten-free tiramisu. I started crying, again, and thanked him profusely. And he told us it was no problem and surprisingly easy to make. Mother-in-law was pissed because she realized that they'd been coming by and started complaining about how wrong this all was because she had to wait 6 days to see the baby and was faced with my anger. My husband took my baby from her, and father-in-law snapped at her to drop it. They stayed and chatted for a short while, and when Bestie's husband came back to drop our dog off, I sent him home with one of the batches of cookies mother-in-law brought, which upset mother-in-law. Mother-in-law has been texting, calling, and trying to rally people against me since. My husband has my back and even went the next day to drop off almost all the rest of the gluten food to our friends, and he told me to block MIL's number if she kept harassing me. I don't really feel like I was the jerk, but I'm also extremely emotional and sensitive to everything right now. And I am not sure I'm reacting to things in general reasonably at this time. Most of my in-laws are mad at me. Am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your mother-in-law tried to make everything about herself. True, she's probably feeling excluded because she doesn't understand the literal help your friends have been. And come on, your mother being there should be understood as a given. She's probably very hurt though, because she has possibly interpreted all this as everyone's seen the baby but us. What's wrong with us? Side note, girlfriend cooking is pretty damn simple. A fact that came out when your friend brought you girlfriend tiramisu. She was embarrassed, and frankly, she should have been. Mother-in-law has been texting/calling and trying to rally people against me since. This makes her an TA. What a piece of work. I'm glad your husband stands up for you both. You're going to need it. Comment 2. Not the idiot. She is upset. All these people are getting to help you, but didn't actually help you when given the opportunity. If she had time to make a lasagna, she had time to make literally anything else, because that shoot is time-consuming. She made muffins and cookies too, but couldn't throw together a salad, some roasted veggies, some baked chicken. No idiots here. She did the classic evil mother-in-law move of taking care of her baby, your husband, and likely doing it to teach you a lesson. It just didn't work because your husband has your back, and you also stood up for yourself. Now, for the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a month since I last posted about the drama with my mother-in-law, right after I had my baby. I know you all have been waiting for an update, so here it is. So, after the whole lasagna incident, things got pretty tense with my in-laws. My husband, bless his heart, was a rock star through it all. He made sure to keep the peace while also standing up for me. He's always been the kind of guy who's calm in a storm, ever since we met in college. He's the one who would organize study groups and make sure everyone got along. That skill came in handy dealing with his mom. Anyway, after my last post, my mother-in-law kept trying to stir the pot. She was calling family members, trying to get them on her side, saying I was keeping her from her grandchild. But my husband was having none of it. He sat down with his parents and had a heart-to-heart. He reminded them of the time when he was a kid, and his mom went on a health kick, insisting everyone eat her special bran muffins. He told them how it felt when no one considered his tastes back then, and how it's similar to my situation with gluten. That seemed to hit a nerve with mother-in-law. She had a moment of realization and actually started to tear up. She apologized to my husband and then to me, admitting she hadn't been fair or considerate. It was a jaw-dropping moment, because she's not the type to admit she's wrong. But the real surprise came a week later. She showed up at our door, unannounced, which usually would have set me on edge. But she came bearing a basket full of gluten-free goodies. She'd taken a cooking class to learn how to make gluten-free meals and treats. She even joked about how she should have done this years ago since it wasn't as hard as she thought. It was a complete 180 from her previous behavior. We invited her in, and she spent the afternoon with us, holding the baby, and actually being helpful. She and my mom even bonded over baby care tips, which was something I never thought I'd see. My best friend and her husband have been angels through all of this. They kept dropping off meals and checking in on us. My bestie told me how she had a heart-to-heart with mother-in-law at the grocery store, of all places. They ran into each other in the gluten-free aisle, and my bestie shared how much it meant to me that she was trying to make amends. I guess it's true what they say about it taking a village. The rest of the in-laws eventually came around too. My husband's sister, who had been on mother-in-law's side at first, called to apologize after hearing the full story. She even sent us a care package with some baby clothes and a sweet note saying she hoped to meet her niece soon. As for me, I've been getting the hang of this mom thing. The baby is doing great, and I'm finally feeling more like myself. The pain has subsided, and I'm not as emotional as I was right after giving birth. I've been able to enjoy this new chapter in our lives without the cloud of family drama hanging over us. It's been a wild ride, but I'm happy to say that things have settled down. My mother-in-law has been coming over once a week to help out and spend time with her grandchild. She's been respectful of our space and has actually been a big help. It's like we've all found a new normal, and it's working out better than I could have hoped. Mom asks me to paint for free, and then she ignores me when she goes to get lunch. Oh boy, she'll regret it. I am a 16-year-old female, and I live with my 17-year-old brother, along with our parents. Since I'm an artist, my mom asked me to paint something for a project she's working on. At first, I was hesitant and originally not going to do it since I don't make art for free, but she was being very persistent, so I agreed to help just to get her to stop asking. Today, she went to drop off some library books and asked me to go with her. She told my brother, 17-year-old male, that she was going to stop to get some lunch and asked him what he wanted. He said he wasn't very hungry and not to get him anything. She never asked me what I wanted, but I assumed since I was going with her, she would ask me once we got there. We dropped off the books and she started making her way home. I asked her if we were still getting lunch, and she said, "No, your brother isn't hungry." I said, "Well, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten today and there's no food at the house. And I'm not exaggerating. We are out of food because my parents need to go grocery shopping. My mom said she'd do it tomorrow, so we won't have anything to eat until then. If we had ingredients, I would just make something, but we don't even have enough stuff to make a homemade meal." She called my brother and once again asked him what he wanted to eat. He said, "I'm not that hungry, just get me something small." She never asked me what I wanted. We pull into the drive-thru and she still didn't bother to ask me what I wanted to eat. She orders what my brother asked for and something for herself. Then, without asking me if I wanted anything or giving me enough time to spit out my order, she said, "That will be everything." Then drove through the line. I was shocked and really upset. But what really irks me is she seemed completely oblivious to what she did. She was just like, "You didn't want anything, did you?" after we got the food. Of course I wanted something. I told you before we pulled in that I was hungry and didn't eat anything today. She wasn't even going to get food. She was going to drive straight home until I said something. Then she had the audacity to tell me that I need to work on her stupid project when we get home. I'm really fed up that she keeps demanding I do this for her without even offering me compensation, or at the very least, getting me something to eat so I'm not working on an empty stomach. When we got home, I told her she can do it herself and that I won't be helping her with it. She called me rude and entitled, and maybe I am, but I feel disrespected, and I won't take that from my own mother. So, am I the idiot? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If not having groceries, or receiving any food for most of a day or more is a regular thing, please reach out to someone you can trust. To be honest, I'm not cool with it even happening once. Comment 2. Tell her you can't concentrate with an empty stomach. And please alert someone, father, grandparent, aunt, uncle/teacher, etc., that you trust that your parent is not providing you with food. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been 3 months since then, and boy, do I have an update for you. Remember how my mom asked me to paint something for her project? Well, I ended up doing it. I thought maybe it would make things better between us, but things just got more complicated. My brother, who's always been the golden child, started dating this girl, Jenna. She's in my art class and always admired my work. So, when she found out I was working on a piece for my mom, she wanted to see it. I showed Jenna the painting and she loved it. She even convinced my brother to hang it up in his room. That's when things took a turn. My mom found out and got furious. She said the painting was supposed to be for her project, not for my brother's room. I tried to explain that it was just until her project started, but she wouldn't listen. Then, one night, I overheard my parents talking. They were arguing about money. Turns out, my mom had been planning to sell my painting without telling me. She thought it would bring in a good amount of cash. I felt so betrayed. I had put my heart into that painting, and she just saw it as a way to make money. I confronted her the next day. It was a huge fight. She said I was being selfish and ungrateful. I couldn't believe it. I had done the painting to help her, and this was how she repaid me? My brother tried to mediate, but it only made things worse. He took her side, saying I should be happy our family could benefit from my talent. Jenna tried to comfort me, but I was too hurt. I felt like everyone was against me. I stopped painting for a while. It just didn't bring me joy anymore. My art teacher noticed and asked me what was wrong. I broke down and told her everything. She was so supportive. She told me that my talent was a gift and that I shouldn't let anyone take advantage of it. She even offered to showcase my work in the school's art show. I was hesitant at first, but I decided to do it. I wanted to prove to my mom that my art was more than just a commodity. The art show was a big hit. People loved my work. And then the unexpected happened. My mom showed up. She had come to see my painting. She stood there for the longest time just looking at it. Then she started crying. She came over to me and apologized. She said she never realized how much my art meant to me. She admitted she was wrong to try and sell it. It was a moment I never thought I'd see. We hugged it out, right there in the middle of the art show. But just when I thought things were getting better, another news dropped. Jenna broke up with my brother. She said she needed to focus on her own art. My brother was devastated. He had really liked her. And the worst part, he blamed me. He said if I hadn't shown her my painting, she wouldn't have been inspired to leave him for her art. I couldn't believe it. My own brother, turning on me over a breakup. It was like the fight with my mom all over again. I felt so alone. I started spending more time with my art teacher, working on new pieces. She became like a mentor to me. And now, here we are. 3 months later, and my family is still healing. My mom and I are on better terms, but things with my brother are still tense. He's still heartbroken over Jenna, and I don't know if he'll ever forgive me. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.